Welcome to the Board Game Network. I'm going to be talking about this game called Ashes: Rise of the Phoenixborn. I'm going to show you how to play this game. It's a card game, much like Magic the Gathering. Here is the setup. Here is your Phoenixborn. Each person gets a Phoenixborn to start the game. And this plays 2 to 4 players, 14 years and up, in about 15 to 30 minutes per player. You actually get to pull a starting hand out of your deck. Here's your deck. Go through and pull 5 cards out of that, and the rule book with the card list of each pre-constructed deck gives you a highlighted line in here, and that corresponds to telling you what you should pull for your starting hand. That's their suggestion anyway. So you pull one of each of those cards, and then you have your starting 5 cards. Everybody else gets their starting 5. You don't show each other, but I have them laid out here so you can see them. You have your conjuration pile to the left, and the difference is this is a darker printed back. This is a grayed out back. You have the starting player token. You have a reference card on the phases of play. You have reference cards for the dice. You get 10 dice, 5 of each color, that it tells you in the back of the rule book for which dice you get for which deck. And you've got some wound tokens here, some exhaustion tokens, and some status tokens. And that's the setup for the game. If you look, you've got 3 phases. You've got the prepare phase, the player turns phase, and the recovery phase, and that would be 1 round if you go through all 3 of those phases. So what you do on the prepare phase is you roll your dice. So all the dice that are over here to the right of your reference cards you roll. And at the beginning of the game, whoever has the most base dice goes first. Base dice is this bottom one, and it's a triangle shape, so you would just line up all your triangle shapes, and you would say, well, you know, I've got 5 base die, and whoever has the most, he gets to go first. He gets the first player token to keep track of who's going first. You can discard as many cards as you want to out of your hand. They just go in your discard pile, and then you draw back to 5 cards in your hand. So that allows you to get rid of cards you don't want and replace them with other cards. And so that is the prepare phase. That's phase 1. You would go on to phase 2, and this is the player turn phase, and this happens back and forth and around the table depending on how many players you got until everybody has passed consecutively. Once everybody's passed in a row, then you would go on to the next phase of recovery. So getting into the player turn phase, you've got one of 2 things, or you've got 2 things you can do. You've got a main action and a side action. You can do them in any order you want to, the side then the main, or the main then the side, or you can take a main and then not take a side. And you can actually, one of your options on the main phase is to pass, but that doesn't get rid of your side action. So you could do a side action and then pass your main action. And the icons for these different things are, a main action is, it's got a star shape into it, and with kind of an oval or a circle around that star, and that's a main action cost. You could attack the Phoenixborn, which you're attacking the other player's Phoenixborn. You can attack a unit, and a unit is any other creature that's in play. A Phoenixborn does not count as a unit. There are things that do things to units, and you cannot do that to a Phoenixborn. That doesn't count as a unit. Or you can pass. So those are your 4 options. Your side actions are to pay a cost that's got the star that doesn't have a circle. If you look at your reference cards here, they have a star symbol there, which means that's a side action. You can do whatever the side action is. Like this one here for the natural magic says pay a side action and a frog deal 1 damage to a target unit. So that would be any creature out here. You can deal a damage to it. You can meditate, and what meditate is you can discard a card from your hand, and that allows you to change the face on a die that you would have over here to the left your exhausted dice over here to the right, the ones that you've used, you wouldn't use it on those. You'd use it on the ones that you can still use. So if you discard a card out of your hand, or if you flip a card off the top of your deck into the discard, that lets you change the dice. Or the third option is a ready spell. And a ready spell is just one of these cards, and if you've already played it, it's out in play, and you can get rid of a ready spell to change the face of a die. So meditate is any of those three, out of your hand, a ready spell, or off the top of your deck. And if you do one off the top of your deck, you don't get a look at it first. The other option for a side action is to use this power dice ability, and each die reference card tells you what you can do. So all of them have it, and they're all different based on your die colors. Each die color, it matches the colors on the die card themselves. So your main actions, you've got your main and your side, remember. Your main actions are to pay some main action cost, and that's listed on the card itself. You can attack a Phoenixborn, you can attack a unit, or you can pass. And then your side actions are to pay a side action cost, and that would be listed on your card over here or down below. You can meditate, or you can activate a dice power, and you don't have to take a side action. Then your recovery is if you have a creature in play out here, you will notice that they have a recover and a number beside them. Like the Gilder has a recover 0, but the Silver Snake has a recover 3. So that means you can take that many wound tokens off of it in the recover part of the recovery phase. So if you damage it but don't kill it, it starts healing itself. You also remove an exhaustion token, one single exhaustion token from every card. So let's say that's got an exhaustion, that's got an exhaustion, you take them off. If it's got 2, you only take 1 off. And then you exhaust dice. You can take as many dice from the left side of your cards and move them over to the right to exhaust them. The point of that is then you get to re-roll them at the top of the round. And so if you had some low ones, you might want to move them over there so you can re-roll them and hopefully get a higher one on the chart here. When you're done with the recovery phase, then the first player token gets passed to the left, and then he is now the first player. So now that I've given you the brief overview, I'm going to go into detail on the attacking. Let's get some creatures out here. I've thrown a Gilder and a Silver Snake out here, but the way those come out is I've got these summon in my hand. I've got summon Silver Snake. So let's say on my turn, as one of my main actions, as my main action, this just says as a main action here, put the summon Silver Snake out, and then it would be my opponent's turn, and then once it's back to my turn, it says take a main action, put an exhaustion token on, use a snake symbol, which hopefully I would have one, or I could meditate to get one. So let's say I had one of the snake tokens on my die. I would move that over to the exhausted side of my dice, and a frog. So that costs the top symbol on both of those different colors, and then I can place a Silver Snake into play on my battlefield, and I just go through my conjuration deck and find a Silver Snake and put him into play. So let's say that I've done a few of these, and you need to make sure you read the text down here, because this one, when it comes into play, can do something. It's got unit guard. Different ones have different things, so you make sure you read the card when you put it out, because it may do something. And let's pull an iron rhino, a couple iron rhinos out of this deck and set them up here. Okay. So we've got some creatures out. So let's talk about attacking. You can attack a Phoenixborn, or you can attack a unit. Now, they're both very similar in what you can do. If I say I'm going to attack your Phoenixborn with those two creatures, my opponent can decide if he wants to block. And the way you block is by throwing any other units that are in play in front of the Phoenixborn. And it's only on a 1-to-1 basis at most. So you can't do 2-on-1 like that. You can do 1-on-1 and then let one through, block some of them, not block some of them. So if I attacked with both of these, he blocked with one. That's the way that would work. I declare my attackers. He declares his blockers. If nothing blocks, then all of the damage goes to the Phoenixborn. If part of it gets blocked, then the non-block stuff goes to the Phoenixborn. So the attacking happens the same no matter whether you're attacking a Phoenixborn or attacking a unit. The choosing targets happens the same. The declaring blockers happens slightly different. Any unit can block that is unexhausted. If it's got an exhaustion token on it, it does not qualify to block. At most 1-on-1. If I'm attacking, let's say I'm attacking the Iron Rhino. Now I can attack the Iron Rhino with as many as I want, but it can be what's called guarded. And a guard would be the Phoenixborn jumps in front, and so the Phoenixborn is going to take the damage and block or guard the unit. Or some units have the ability on them, it says unit guard, and that means they can jump in front of an attack. And the unit with unit guard has to be unexhausted. The Phoenixborn can be exhausted and still guard. A unit that has unit guard cannot be exhausted. And then you go on to resolve the damage. And the way the damage is done is if it's not blocked, then the Phoenixborn takes the damage if you're attacking the Phoenixborn. If it is blocked, so something jumped out here in the way, then that creature is going to take the damage that the Phoenixborn would have taken, and that's based on the attack value here. So this has an attack of 1, so it would put 1 wound token on the Iron Rhino. This one has an attack based on the number of status tokens on it. I didn't throw a status token out here, but that gets a status token at certain points. That would be if it's got focus, but I haven't talked about focus yet. So let's assume that it's got a 1 on it, so that one would take 1 damage. So you just give wounds to the creatures that blocked based on the attack value. Now the blocker can choose to counter, and what that means is it's going to actually fight back. Instead of just taking damage, it's going to actually physically fight back. And so both the attacker and the blocker would take damage equal to the attack value. This has an attack of 5. So this only has a life of 2, and this one has a life of 4. So both of these would be killed if these choose to counter. The disadvantage of countering is they get exhausted. All attackers get exhausted, and the blockers that counter get exhausted also. So that would eliminate them from being able to attack the Phoenixborn on a later turn or do something else on a later turn based on some text on it. So it may not want to counter. If you are attacking a unit, then only non-exhausted units can counter. Those who are exhausted cannot counter. If defending against multiple attackers, the defender gets to choose damage. So like if I'm attacking this one with these 2, this one gets to decide where his attack is going. I want it 3 to go over here and 1 to go, 2 to go here or something. However he wants to do that. If it's not countered, then it's the same. The attackers would not take any damage. All attackers become exhausted, and all countering guards or those on the defending side would be exhausted. So that happens the same whether you're attacking the Phoenixborn or attacking a unit. And so that's how attacking Phoenixborn, how attacking a unit works. Any of those that have taken damage equal to their life or greater will get discarded. Any conjurations just go back in the conjuration pile. So that's how the attacking works. Costs. Let's look at a card here. There are different kinds of costs. There are exhaustion costs, and it says put an exhaustion token on something. And that's this symbol here with the triangle and an eye in it. It'll say put an exhaustion token on here. And so you would do that. There is the main action, which is this symbol here. There is a side action symbol, which looks close to that without the circle around it. And there's discard, which is a card with an arrow coming out of it. And that means you have to discard a card from your hand into the discard pile. So those are all costs. And your dice is a cost too. The base one down here is these triangle shaped ones. The class one up here, it shows that this one is a heart or a base, which means anything with a heart can be used for a base. This is the power symbol, the snake, which says or heart or base, which means it can be used for its own symbol or for the heart symbol or for the base symbol. These cards have the title of the card up here. They have what the card type is right here. This is an action spell. It tells you the placement, which is where it goes. It says discard, so that would mean once you play it, it goes to the discard pile. This one says battlefield, which means once you play it, it comes out into the battlefield. This one says spell board, so it comes out in the spell board. So you've got a row that's your battlefield, a row that's your spell board. You have the cost of the card right here on the upper right. It tells you what it takes to play that card, and it tells you down here what that card does. There are several different card types. There are action cards. This is an action spell right here, and so that's one of your card types. A reaction is one that can react to something, react to an attack, react to damage or something, and it tells you down here what you can react to. Now each player can only do one react per turn, and you can do a react on another player's turn, but you're limited to one in a turn. There are ally cards, and allies are kind of like conjurations. Conjurations come out of this pile, but allies come out of this pile, and you play them out of your hand, but they go into the battlefield also. They're just a unit like a conjuration is. So it's a creature coming out of your draw deck. There are ready spells, and ready spells like this Empower Silver Snake, that's a ready spell. And so you just play it down here wherever it tells you to play it. But they typically will stay out here and play summon some creature. There's alteration spells, and alteration spells get placed beneath an altered card. So let me look at, here's an alteration spell called Spiked Armor, and it tells you where it is placed, and it's on a unit, so it can go on any kind of unit, whether it's a conjuration or an ally, and it says life +2. So you put it underneath that, and it would make this Iron Rhino have a life of 6 instead of 4, and there's some other ability there that you'll want to read also. But that's how an alteration spell works. So damage, when you damage a unit, when you damage a Phoenixborn, you take wound tokens and you put them on the unit or put them on the Phoenixborn, if the Phoenixborn has units, has wound tokens equal to the life, here's the big number in the middle here for the Phoenixborn. If you have wound tokens equal or exceeding that, then the Phoenixborn dies and you're out of the game. If a unit has wound tokens equal to its life, then it gets discarded. So if it's a summon or if it's a conjuration, it goes back to the conjuration deck and it can be brought back out later. Any alterations get discarded. Any units or any allies, they get discarded. So that's if the wounds are greater than or equal to the life. There are status tokens, which these are green ones. They just, something will say put a status token on it and it goes out there and it does whatever the card on the text on the cards tells you that it does. You are limited in your battlefield and your spell board based on what your Phoenixborn says. This says battlefield 3, which means I can only have 3 units in play. It also says spell board 4, so I can have 4 cards in my spell board, but I cannot have more. There is the effect of respark, and that's usually on an alteration spell. It'll say respark down here, and what that does is it lets you pay some cost, and when that is getting ready to be discarded, you can pull it back to your hand. That's what respark does. To win, you just have to be the last Phoenixborn in play. That is Ashes, Rise of the Phoenixborn. Make sure you tune into all of our How to Play videos here at the Board Game Network.